Alrighty, hello and welcome to Outside the Numbers, episode 8. I am Shelby Allen, and
I'm Ethan and Jerry.
we come back after a hard contested trivia smackdown between our fathers. Your dad came out with the win, and then I guess now if we're forming a series between the free agent draft, which I won, your dad gets you a win. There is like a budding rivalry between
Okay.
the Monjuri and Allen households.
Yeah,
So series tied up 1-1, but there's a big future there.
yeah,
So we'll have to
appreciate
find
that.
the next
Appreciate that. Bringing home the dub.
appreciation for him. He's keeping you afloat. Well, we'll tell you what. It is a little bit of a down news week. I know next week we're going to start talking about the draft, and that's when things are really going to start picking up.
Getting exciting.
And well, let's just run through. Oh, of course. So last week we talked about the rule changes. So do you want to bring us in with the verdict of a few of these changes?
NFL owners vote in favor of allowing players to wear the number 0. The old heads are upset. I just don't see why it matters. But I mean, it seems like such a silly thing to even have to vote on. But I guess that's cool. It's going to be cool to see. Because I think there's a certain level of, I guess, swag you would bring with that, because not every player is going to go for that. That's going to be another number 1 type deal. So.
Right. And immediately Micah Parsons hopped online and was like, oh, I'm now 0, which is absurd considering you're like 2 years into your career and you've sold like however many thousands of jerseys and you just want to immediately rebrand. Crazy to me.
Yeah.
And thankfully, as a Cowboys fan, Jaron Kearse had already jumped on it. I don't know if he had like an inside man, but it was like same day. Jaron Kearse had already successfully changed his number to 0. And so that's why we don't have to worry about Micah Parsons jumping on the 0 thing. That's, yeah. If you had to put do you find it swaggy? If you were playing, would you want to be the 0?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what Saint do you want to put in number 0?
I think there were talks about Shahid. Yeah,
I know the name you're going
stumble
for.
Across that all the time. But what I would think I would like. He's like a small name guy that always came up in big moments and performed. So I feel like he deserves it. Yeah. So I think that would be cool. I mean, I don't know, give this season a go and then decide who gets the 0 because I have no idea what to expect at this point.
That's a fair point. It's a weird place for the roster. I'm just picturing it now. I think I voted in favor of it last week on the pod.
Mm-hmm.
And now the more I've thought about it, because for one, thankfully, they've said you can't wear 0 if you're a lineman on either side of the ball.
Again, why
that
would
would be
matter?
highly distressing. Okay, no, don't even start. It's aesthetics. It would be terrifying. I cannot picture watching a game where a center is wearing just a single 0. That would be crazy to me. That would be ludicrous.
So what? It doesn't change anything is my point.
I'm not going to be able to understand you on this one. I really won't. I'm happy enough that
I get the aesthetics, but like that shouldn't be a rule.
I
can't be a rule for aesthetics.
There absolutely should. That's neither here nor there. Now, see if you agree with me here, because where my mind goes is eventually we're going to have a quarterback wearing number 0.
Yeah.
Is that not highly upsetting to you? God, all right.
That's going to be icy. You can't. Come on.
I'm standing by it. I think it should be receivers.
How is that
and
different than a number 1?
Safeties. It's empty. It's so like it's fun as an underdog thing, right? But like if you're the captain and leader of a team, number 1 is, I mean, that's never been lost on anybody. That's like, when you picture number 1, you picture Cam Newton, superhero, yada, yada. Just 0? Like, I guess I don't mind that people want to do it, but a lineman or a quarterback, I mean, there are a tight end, don't get me started. It would look horrible.
That would look kind of funny.
Yeah, right.
It would look funky, but you'd get used to it, I feel like.
Yeah, I did get used to linebackers wearing like single digits a lot quicker than I thought I would. Still don't love it. I would put things back to the way they were 2 to 3 years ago in terms of numbers if I could. But
I think five on a linebacker is kind of nice.
it still doesn't make sense to me.
Whatever.
Give me a couple of years, I'll
Whatever.
be there, as long as nobody's putting on the 0 in the backfield. Which, speaking of the backfield, brings us to a rule change that we didn't talk about last week, but one that is
The worst
I'm
ever.
certain it has already enraged you.
It's the dumbest. As a former running back, it doesn't make any sense. That eliminates.
Correct. Yeah.
If I'm understanding this correctly, let me read what we have written here.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd it go? Did I delete it? Anyway, you can't
no,
hand the
there,
ball off
second line from the
forward.
top.
The ball has to be handed off from the quarterback, either even with or behind him. Right? So no more. So you can't just run. You can't run a split formation anymore and hand the ball to one of the running backs. You can't run a 2 running back counter out of a split backfield. No more jet sweeps. What does that mean?
Okay, so now jet sweeps I had not thought about. What I picture when I picture this rule, and what I think they're getting at, is just a basic read option where you would normally have the quarterback leans over, checks to see if he's keeping it or handing it off, right? And instead, when I picture this, I picture Jalen Hurts doing like that extra stutter step where he's holding it and delaying another beat before he reads it and decides if he wants to take off. I know I'm reading your face. It's absurd.
That's
you should
part
be
of the
able to do
game.
that.
That's part of the misdirection. That's the entire point of that play.
Yes,
is
correct.
to like wait until the last moment until you're reading the defense. It's part of the sport. It takes skill to do. That's not just like an unfair play. You have to read it correctly.
Okay, so keep ranting. I'm going to look up the exact rule so I can read it out, because it does spell out that exact way, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around how they expect it to function.
Penalizes offenses. It's going to be a penalty? Like, you're going to lose yardage.
Yeah, here we go. Okay. The rule change. This will penalize... to make handing the football forward a penalty like an illegal forward pass. This is proposed by the competition committee, not even by a team. This will penalize teams handing off the football forward on a read option, for example, or any other running play becomes a penalty.
Okay.
So handoffs will have to be made
momentum?
next to or behind the quarterback, not in front of. That is the exact type of...
It's not about momentum. It's about where he reaches his arms.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. There are so many plays you can't run anymore because of that. So it makes me wonder, though, are they going to just start tossing it?
Exact jet motion. That's what it's
I
going to
think
be.
they're probably just going to
gonna
start letting go right before, and he's just going to barely catch it.
That's going to cause them
stats.
Exactly. Yeah, giving more to the receiver and quarterback, taking away rushing yards, but then also giving themselves just way more issues to work. Like,
yeah, so many more fumbles with that.
There's gonna be fumbles, and then you're gonna have to sit there and say, did the quarterback, when he tossed it up, or you're gonna have to toss it forward, but like what's normally just holding it out and he takes it, you're now gonna have to look at fumbles. Did the ball go backwards or forwards in the air? Is it an incomplete pass or a fumble? So much garbage.
And now running backs with that would have weird receiving yards.
Oh, yeah.
And then like quarterback stats would go crazy. That's going to mess fantasy up. This is such a bad idea.
It's a horrible idea. And one that I'm truly shocked that we just haven't seen more content surrounding it, because it feels like the type of thing that will be a 1-year trial that is horrendous. This feels like basically the version of the updated roughing the passer rules,
right?
Where it's going to get called week 2 on Monday Night Football, and it's going to be, everybody's going to see the play happen, and they're like, wait, what? That's literally never been a problem before. How did this happen? So, yeah, that's why you look into what the NFL competition committee is up to. That's some garbage for you. But I think we're both pretty much in line about that. Let's see. Oh yeah, the next rule is much more benign. It's basically for the last week of the season, it gives an extra day. It gives the Monday after the final Sunday of the season for teams to make waiver claims, which is, I don't know why that wasn't the case already. That's basically that has to be part of why like the 49ers ended up with Josh Johnson, and how a bunch of teams ended up like not ready because you just can't like, oh no, somebody got injured the final week of the season. You have to wait to never made sense. So they've righted that wrong more than crushed any positivity with the previous rule we talked about. But another one that we voted on last week. And do you remember how did we vote on this? The 4th and 20 or 4th and 15 from the instead of the onside kick.
I like the idea.
I still voted against it. Well, they voted against it. They didn't vote against it. They voted to table it until next year. So there's something about it that they like.
Right.
They just don't want to put it into effect yet.
I don't know if they would feel like they're copying too much.
That's a fair point. It would be pretty like clear cut.
Yeah, but that's what really like got me over too, because like the kickoff is so, I mean, it's like legendary, you know. And they keep trying to get rid of that. Mm-hmm. So I didn't like the idea at first, but watching some of those XFL games, it really spices up the end of those games. And makes it really crazy. So I'm for it now. I like it.
I went to Defenders Houston Roughnecks. So I've been to 2 Houston Roughnecks games this season, which is so funny. XFL's got some traction, you know. But man, they were down for one. Some Wade Phillips talk. He got beat. They're now 4-2. They were undefeated when we left them in Orlando a few weeks ago. They've now struggled a little bit. But even in the final moments of that game, it was like 42-23 or something. And you still had they attempted a 4th and 15 conversion, and they got like just 2 yards short of it.
Yeah.
But right, it's like even just that little bit of like, oh, did he get there? And we still have a game.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just going to be kneeled down. But the fact that it's even there, like an onside kick, it's not even suspenseful anymore.
Oh right, yeah. You're like, okay, here we go with another. You're just hoping that you see it bounce off of somebody, and it never does.
Right. And so they actually did. They gave the percentage. So apparently, onside kicks last year were 4% in success, which I believe I read was a all-time low. So the NFL wants to see that number come up to 13 to 14% roughly, and that's how you do it. I guess they just don't. They don't want to. Yeah, they don't want to be copycats. They don't want to rush anything. It's a big swing, but not one they want to make, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to pull off an onside kick in the NFL unless you're Sean Payton at the beginning of the second half in the Super Bowl.
Element of surprise, baby.
Yeah, you just gotta not be expecting.
One of the best plays of all time. That is incredible stuff. It's so funny too. People have tried it. Didn't like Doug Peterson last year? He did it like in a random week 6 against the Chiefs, and he pulled it off. I think he pulled it off. Goodness, I mean, I think you admire it either way because it's absurd. But the idea of doing that in the Super Bowl,
wild,
had never been done and probably will never be done again. Incredible.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a moment just to think back on that highlight of your life?
It's a fond memory for sure. It's a good one. It's really
so
stupid.
If this rule passes,
that was
we may never get stuff like that again. Did you just call Sean Payton?
I mean, that's not a smart. It's not a smart thing to do. You know, I mean, you can't be like, yes, it is smart to onside kick it at the start of the second half in the Super Bowl. That's a silly move. It just worked.
The numbers guys would tell you it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Oh, incredible. And let's see. So I think that's the end of rule changes. Now we get into our talk about a familiar name on this podcast because it's kind of happened to just align with the time at which there's been all this heat and drama. But Lamar Jackson waits until literally just minutes after his head coach takes the podium at the NFL conference to talk about the state of his team. And literally he sits down, Lamar Jackson immediately just tweets like, oh yeah, I asked for a trade a while ago. I asked for a trade at the beginning of March. And we've just been beefing, I guess, ever since. Crazy.
Well, I thought that was nuts because then that changes how I'm looking at the Ravens organization. And like you said earlier when we were talking about the lack of receiver push that they did for him the last 5 years that they've had him, and then start to make these connections. And you're like, maybe the Ravens front office is not too great and not doing what they should be doing.
Yeah, I think that's a safe statement. I I was listening to the Dave Damashek show earlier, and he actually he was talking about this receiver issue, but he was also talking about an often forgotten thing of John Harbaugh in 2018 when it was Lamar's rookie season. They never planned on starting Lamar. They drafted him because it was great value and he wasn't going to be a starter. They had Flacco at the time. And Lamar basically, like, Flacco's playing, he's not doing so hot. They've got like a mediocre record. And then, like, Harbaugh was kind of on the hot seat a little bit as a coach. Then this is often like breezed over, but his, like, people were really starting to question, like, it's been a while since we've had postseason success. Joe Flacco isn't it. I mean, Joe Flacco's whole career is pretty much an anomaly.
Yeah, it's weird to
regular versus postseason. But
yeah, the Ravens were kind of like, you kind of laughed at them before Lamar took over. Like, they were one of the teams you weren't scared of, for sure. That's weird to think about. I hadn't thought about, because now it's just Ravens are one of those potentially powerhouse teams, but
at least for the regular season.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, like, even so at that time, they basically stumbled onto Lamar Jackson and had him come in. He lights it up. He's an MVP a year later, right? He's an MVP in 2019. So it's been 5 years that he's been on the team. The best wide receiver that they've had is Hollywood Brown, who they traded midway through this last season. So you would not want. It genuinely reminds me of what Washington does with their quarterbacks. It's just like, if they show promise, get the trade papers signed. Yeah, get them gone. So yeah, Baltimore has basically done everything they can to ensure that Lamar Jackson does not have a wide receiver to throw to, and they're now surprised that he wants a trade when the bill is due for him to become like one of the league's highest paid quarterbacks. Why would you ever want to sign a fully guaranteed or not? Why would you ever want to sign with a team that had proven a total inability to set you up for success?
I mean, think of all the names since 2018 of top of the line receivers that have gone into free agency that certainly didn't end up on the Ravens, and I don't remember hearing them pushing for anybody ever.
Right. So they never got DeAndre Hopkins.
No.
They never made a Brandon Cooks thing, even though he's been on like 12 teams.
Yeah, I mean, he'll go anywhere.
They didn't get in on Amari Cooper when the Cowboys were handing him away for a 4th and a 5th, which is, boys, we'll get to that later. But boy, that's absurd. So they have avoided wide receiver talent by any means necessary. And yeah, so no, of course he wants a trade. I don't blame him at all. I think it's so funny that this is even being painted. Well, I'm not gonna pretend this isn't like, I'm sure a lot of people have been of the mind that, like, when a quarterback starts holding out and trying to get the money, there's some selfishness. There's, they're not team oriented. But when you look back at it, what was that?
The organization isn't team oriented. They're not you
right.
gotta help your main guy out a little.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier too. I will give them some credit. They did sign like a 33-year-old Dez Bryant. So clearly they tried to get Lamar Jackson a dominant wide receiver. So yeah, no, his like 2 starts there were incredible.
Yeah, that's something else that he actually played.
Yeah, right. It's a horrible mental picture of the 88 in Baltimore. But this brings a whole new light to, because when you mess with one front office and their total inability to make deals happen, make trades happen, it naturally affects all the other teams that are in the QB market, which right now we were looking at the Jets, the Packers, and the Ravens in this sort of absurd love triangle where the Packers pretty much know one way or another they're going to end up with Jordan Love. The Jets are looking at either signing a 39, 38-year-old quarterback to like a 1 or 2 year deal, or just taking the last year of his current deal with the Packers and paying him like $60 million, some absurd number, or trade away all of the first round picks you have and get like a 27-year-old quarterback
who's very good,
who's better than Rodgers.
Yeah,
I think I can say that comfortably.
Yeah, especially after this season. Yeah,
it's basically now that we know Lamar wants a trade, now it makes way more sense to me for the Jets to get him than for the Packers. How do you feel about it?
Well, yeah, I would think so. And then it's going to be really funny, I think, if they do that, watching Aaron Rodgers' reaction, because
Yeah.
I mean, what is he going to do?
If the ayahuasca told him to go to New York, and then New York signs Lamar Jackson, do you just go back into the darkness?
You might just retreat back into the darkness for sure.
Yeah.
For good.
Or maybe you can't trust the darkness. I mean, you would be in a very lost place, you know. Maybe just retire.
Maybe just retire. Just
Yeah. I mean, he did say when he went into the hut. I really in my mind, I like to picture it as like a kind of a beat up like Hobbit home,
yeah,
from Lord of the Rings. It just in total darkness. I love to picture him just like hunched over, just just making his way back into the little Hobbit hole to rethink his options. But it's so absurd to me that it didn't seem absurd. Now that we know Lamar Jackson wants to go, it now seems like, why would you, if you're going to sacrifice at least like 2 first-round picks, why would you ever go with somebody that's not going to play for you for more than another year or so?
Yeah. No, it makes way more sense to go for Lamar, but it also might make Rodgers speed things up and make sure that
That's
he gets
true.
into New York. So it might start like a little, because if they can get him for even cheaper than they were planning on getting him for, then it starts to make a little more sense, and it's more okay. You got to think about it.
I love this. I love this idea so much. I love the idea of Rodgers being forced to like be like, oh wait, I'm not just unanimously wanted, and I can't just be a
melodramatic little whatever. But then, what if Lamar thinks the same way, and he thinks, oh well, Aaron's probably gonna just do whatever he can to get into New York so that he doesn't have to go anywhere else, and then it makes Lamar try to work something out faster. Things could be coming like a domino effect pretty soon.
Right, and the one, I mean the most lame possibility here, which seems, I mean, maybe not probable, but definitely possible, of Lamar basically, all this happens and then he ends up just playing under the 1-year franchise tag, or signing to it and then just like holding out for a season, which would be like historic.
Be dumb. That would
be really dumb. A year of your prime.
Yeah.
But like, what option does he have? I mean, if the Jets sign Aaron Rodgers, every team in the NFL, for whatever reason, has gotten their public relations department to come out and say, oh yeah, we want nothing to do with signing Lamar Jackson. For whatever reason, like Miami, Atlanta, New England, everybody that like actually has a reason to need Lamar Jackson has been like, oh no, we're not touching him.
Which is weird.
It's super weird. Yeah, borderline. I mean, we talked collusion earlier in the offseason. Yeah. It's strange. It's really strange. What do they know that we don't?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It blows my mind. Yeah. So yeah, no, I would hate for that to be the result of Rodgers just goes to the Jets and then we get a half holdout Lamar situation.
Yeah.
So we can hope that doesn't go through. But yeah, crazy. I can't remember the last offseason where we had like these two high profile quarterback this late just totally waiting to be signed.
Very interesting.
So I will bring us in with a third segment of trade possibilities, right? This is part of this is selfish. Some of them do involve the Cowboys, right? So I'm just trying to get like an honest perspective on some things, right?
Uh-huh.
But I'll at least start it off on a basic level. The Jets send, and I mean, this is literally something we could see in the next couple of days, but the Jets send their first and second round 2023 draft picks, their 2024 first and second round draft picks to Baltimore.
I mean, I don't say no. That's heavy. That's a heavy price tag, but I don't say no. That's for sure.
So no, well, are you right? Okay, so here's you've got this exclusive franchise tag to where if another team makes an offer for his contract and the Ravens don't beat that offer, then that team gets Lamar Jackson and automatically sends 2 first-round picks, right?
Uh-huh.
So by doing this, they would basically only kind of just gain 2 second-round picks, but I mean that is substantial, right?
Right.
So who says if somebody's saying no, which side of that is turning that down?
Hmm. So who's presenting? I guess the Jets would present that trade.
Yeah, in this scenario, yeah.
I feel like the Ravens would turn it down just to be that way, but they should take it.
They should. Yeah. Okay. We're on the exact same train of thought there.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely 2 first and second. That's big. Like they would. My first thought was that the Jets shouldn't do that so that they can use any of those picks to get more receivers or
Right.
or protection.
But they do have they got Alan Lazard. They got who's the other?
I can't remember the
That'd
other
be
guy's
so
name.
funny if they got Aaron Rodgers' wish list and then got Lamar.
I would love
somebody
that,
just somebody just held them hostage until they got actual skill position talent, and then they just that's that. I love that. That might be my new favorite. That's my new dream
That's
scenario.
fantastic.
Okay, so that's trade option 1. You're saying if anybody says no, it's the Ravens.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Scenario number 2: the Falcons send a 2023 second and a 2024 third for DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm.
So his current contract is like 20 plus million, and he's got 2 years, so 2023 and 2024 locked in with the Cardinals. Expensive.
Yeah.
So they would, so this would be the Falcons sending those over to Arizona. How do you feel about that one?
My initial thought was that's kind of cheap, but I'm forgetting that he's getting to the end of his career now.
I think he is 30.
Yeah, he's not. Well, and he's not like a headliner name all the time anymore either.
Yeah.
So I think that's an accurate price tag. I don't think the Falcons should do that though, just because that's very expensive. Those 2 years are going to be, and they're in not the best situation right now, quarterback wise. So you need to be saving money.
Okay. So you think in that scenario, Falcons say no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know the Falcons have like a decent amount of cap, but I also looked at that before they made like 80 free agent signings.
Yeah.
So they might not be in as good of a place after, because I know they just picked up Calais Campbell. I don't think we hit that in the news. So they have been making moves. They've bulked up their defense. I would love. I want for it to happen. I know you don't endorse this, but I kind of I miss the Falcons being relevant. I find it pretty fun. No, I shouldn't have even brought it up. You look traumatized. No, you don't have any loving memories. I was gonna talk about like Julio Jones and Roddy White, and
there was one time that Julio Jones caught a ball and then Alex Anzalone hit him and he did like a helicopter.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad I brought that up then. You just got
There were also like 3 other times that he fumbled only playing the Saints. Julio Jones had more fumbles than he had touchdowns.
That is a wild stat. I love that for you. That makes me very happy.
I'm glad you brought up Julio Jones. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Yeah. but can't you see? I should have thought this through ahead of time. You're not going to relate to what I'm going to say, so I'm just going to give up. I wish the Falcons would do it because it looks fun. I'm picturing it. I'm picturing Desmond Ridder finding like a little bit of a rhythm, and then having like an elite veteran. It just sounds electric. But whatever, it doesn't go through for you. I'll give it to you. It's a toss up. And our final this is the one that you'll make fun of me for. The Cowboys send a 2023 third and a 2024 second to the Browns for Amari Cooper. Who says no? Is there something funny about that? Is that well, the Browns just got Elijah Moore from the Jets. They got maybe nobody else. So no, I can see where you're coming from, but man, picture for a second,
that would
right?
Be hilarious.
Got CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks. You trade Michael Gallup, you pick up maybe a third or a second. Who's saying no? You think the Browns might say no?
Yeah. I do.
Okay.
But that would be very funny.
Okay, now stick with me for a second, right? Because I think there's a decent possibility the Browns say no. But think about it like this: if they were to make that move for a single season, they give up a fourth and a fifth, right? They live out that season with Amari Cooper. He's their number one. He has, I think, like 8 touchdowns, 1,100 yards, something like that, right? And then you have a chance to totally pay him nothing and then receive a second and a third. So you've upped like 2 spots. You're not paying another person that you could in theory draft somebody, and you've basically they just like I mean it's like buying low, selling high.
Yeah.
His value is that to me, unless I am as delusional as you probably already think I am. I don't know. So you okay? So Browns say no, and that's that for
I
the
think Browns
the
say
trade.
no, but that's an interesting thought.
Okay, yeah,
It
I'm
would
glad I
they
brought
would
you
think
down that
about it.
rabbit hole.
They would think about it.
Okay, all right. See, that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
don't
it
give
could
up
happen.
hope.
Yeah, just tell it. It could happen, right?
It could
The
happen.
Cowboys could bring Amari Cooper back. It could happen.
Never know. You never know.
Yeah, right. That's what I tell myself every night before I go to sleep. This has been episode 8 of the Outside the Numbers podcast. Next week we will start talking about the draft as we get within about a month of it. It is really sneaking up on us, so maybe we'll get a mock draft in. Would you be down?
Oh, yeah.
Run a little
Oh, yeah.
first round mock draft.
Oh yeah.
All right, good stuff. Well,
Big time.
we'll be back next week with that and then plenty more. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you as always to my co-hosts.
Appreciate y'all.
And yeah, thanks for hopping on. Peace.
See you.
Catch us next week. Okay.